Well, welcome to another Winter Nutz podcast. Today I have my friend Lee Hamilton on. Welder, fabricator, outdoor enthusiast, snowmobiler, kind of do it all. Father, which is why I wanted to have him on today's podcast. We were going to get into a little bit of kids snowmobiles, but first kind of, who are you? What do you do? Where do you weld? I was going to touch on, you've been in the snowmobile business making bumpers for Reamer's Rendering. That's been kind of put on hold a little bit now. You're doing fabricating for another shop now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been into sleds probably for about 10 or so years. I grew up in Saskatchewan, and we weren't really around kind of machines and sleds and that kind of stuff. So kind of in my early adult years, I got into snowmobiling.
On your own?
Yeah.
Without your parents kind of introducing, you got into it on all by yourself?
Yeah, totally. My first sled, I was probably 25, and it was a 1974 John Deere 440.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. Those are sweet old machines.
Yeah.
There's so many different variations of manufacturers back then too.
Yeah, there sure was.
Yeah. And then when did you get into the mountain riding?
I would say in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my first mountain machine was a 2008 Arctic Cat M8.
Yeah.
And I bought it, and it blew up the first ride out. So that was my first experience with it.
So that was the year after the M7 too?
Yeah.
So the first year of the 800?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe a few issues. I don't know the history.
Well, what happened, the guy bought it he did a rebuild on it and put the pistons in backwards. So the piston gap or the ring gap was in the wrong way. So yeah, anyway, live and learn. I put her back together and rode it for a couple more years.
And then you have 2 children or 3?
I have 3.
3 kids?
Yeah, I got
And all of them are into sledding now as well?
That's right. Well, yeah. It's a little bit difficult sometimes to get the whole family out, but whenever we do, we have a good time, as long as everybody's fueled up with snacks and drinks and treats and,
Lots
and warm
of snacks
clothes. Yeah.
And warm clothes, yeah. So you have your kids on a bit of a different snowmobile. We're going to get into that here shortly on kids sleds and what's out there for kids snowmobiles. There's been, Facebook comments, posts, what's out there for parents to purchase for their kids. And everyone knows about the 200s here. And it's more so what else is out there? What other options are cheaper? What options are there after the 200? So I kind of wanted to do a little kind of podcast on the options that people have for purchasing for their children growing up. So to start with, I just put a little list together here. And everybody knows there's the 120s, which is like the old school kitty cat originally. And the kitty cats, I think, were only a 50.
They were, yeah.
Just a tiny little sled. And that's what I started on as a kid. I think I was 4 years old, and we're at the snowmobile cabin. And my dad's friend had one for his kid. And we would tow a GT behind it and just laps around the cabin, like all day. I don't know if it was all day, because I'm sure we went sledding, but it must have been all afternoon and all evening. And numerous tanks of gas for a weekend in that little thing. So that's kind of where the 200 is now for parents to get their kids, and that's the entry-level sled for the newer sleds. And they date back, this 120, I think even like 2003, 2004 is when Polaris came out with their first 120. I think Yamaha and Arctic Cat joined up, and they brought one out then a few years later. And then also the Skidoo has a 120. The only thing is as of 2025, there won't be a Yamaha 120 because Yamaha shut down the snowmobile division last year.
Yeah.
And I heard that the 120 and the 200 Yamahas are built by Yamaha. For all manufacturers. So the Polaris, the Skidoo, the Arctic Cat, I'm not 100% sure, but I did hear from somebody. Now, whether that's true, I didn't find any info. I was looking it up, and I couldn't find anything to confirm that. But if even still, Arctic Cat are getting their engines from Yamaha for their 120 and 200s. So I just hope that Arctic Cat can continue, whether they buy a whole bunch of engines and enough to supply them for a few years, or take over the manufacturing for that engine itself and start selling them. So you have the 120 and then there's the 200, and both Arctic Cat and Yamaha have that as of last year. Arctic Cat this year still 200, and then Skidoo has a 200, but Polaris doesn't, just the 120. And they're a great machine. So we were touching on that when you came over. You asked, well, do they got hand warmers? Yeah, they do. There's two different options of sled, one with E-start, one without E-start. And as far as I know, they all have hand warmers. Now, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they all had it.
Yeah, they should.
They should. Poor little guys on the 120s, they don't have hand warmers, they don't have E-start. The only way they're going is if dad comes over, fires it up. And it's got to be on a warm day because they get cold.
Yeah.
Where the 200, at least they got hand warmers, and it's also E-start. So my son's able to fire the sled up on his own and go. My brother bought one this year. It doesn't have E-start. So not a big deal. You're more in control when that kid gets to go or not go. Yeah. It gets to the point of, though, if something was to happen or they got stuck or who knows, maybe it stalls.
Yeah.
At least my son can crank and try and get going again. Where the pulling it, parents have to come back and pull on it to get it fired up. And they're really good. So they do have a clutch. So the sled goes a little faster down the trail. Where the 120, when we were riding with the kids up Lumberton, we were having to leapfrog with our big sleds because we would overheat putting down the trail so slow.
Right.
It was actually almost painful how slow the 120
went. Because they just have
went.
a centrifugal clutch, and it's just
one chain
speed,
drive,
one gear,
and they're really noisy.
Yeah,
because the chain is so noisy. And I just lubed it up here the other day, and it's so noisy. I thought the lube would maybe silence it up a bit, but no.
Yeah.
Where these are a little quieter to run, they've got just the clutch, and then the clutch goes straight into the jack shaft.
Okay.
Or the drive shaft.
Yeah.
So there is no chain on those things.
Yeah. So how a regular snowmobile would be.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Just no second gear reduction. So they're already a slower rotating engine, being kind of like a Brixton Stratton or almost like a lawnmower tractor engine. Yeah.
So they're all 4-stroke with basically utility motors in them. Basically,
kind of that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I wanted to touch on a few more options. When parents are getting out of these, I just did some research, and so Yamaha and Arctic Cat have been making what they call a Venom and a Blast, and they're both a 400. And these are obviously the newer options. 2020, 2021 they came out. And then Polaris created an Evo, which is a 550, but it only comes in a 121 track. So it's not really real suited for the Alpine with that 121. Where the Yamaha and the Arctic Cat both have 146 tracks. So a little bit longer, more meant for the mountains. They actually look very similar to a bigger Arctic Cat sled, but a lot smaller, a lot lighter. All of the options, hand warmers, E-start, all that kind of stuff.
The nice thing about those two is that they have kind of somewhat of a proper suspension, where these ones here, if an adult gets on it or a heavier person,
especially the 120.
They're bagged out. So
as I was saying, I have to tighten the 120 up because our daughter will ride around and I got to do the driving for her. And when I'm doing all that, the poor sled is sacked out with me sitting on there trying to, help. I don't drive completely, but I kind of hold my hands on the side and kind of steer and help so we're not crashing into the fence or something like that.
Yeah.
Now you get into the bigger one, adult can kind of sit on it, but even a guy I know in town here, his kids outgrew their 400 and he's riding it. He says it's the funnest thing ever to ride around on.
Yeah.
And his kids are riding his big sled.
Oh, really?
Because they're getting to the age that they've outgrown that as well.
Yeah. So
there's some options for people. Now, whether your kid is ready at the end of the 120 to jump to the 400, I don't know. There's it's a bit more of a gap than it was from the 120 to the 200. So the 200 to the 400 is a bigger step.
Because typically those 400s, they are just half an 800, right? So they're 2-stroke, and with the Arctic Cat Blasts, it's basically they just cut the motor in half, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if it's a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke.
I'm pretty sure it's a 2-stroke.
Look it up here quickly, hence why I brought this.
But I'm not 100% sure if they actually have an expansion pipe on the exhaust, or if that's something that you'd have to buy aftermarket.
Equipped with a 2-stroke engine. So they're a 397cc single cylinder liquid cooled engine with batteryless electronic fuel injection. So, yeah, you're right. It literally is just half an 800.
But because
They won't rev as high though, because the counterweight that has to be put on the crankshaft for that single rotation piston.
And I'm not too sure if maybe you could look that up, if they have power valves. I'm not too sure if they have a power valve, but I'm fairly certain that they don't have a proper like expansion chamber, what you'd see in a full-size sled.
Three-stage exhaust power valve system.
So it does have power valves, yeah.
It does. So that means it doesn't need the expansion chamber as much, but
Maybe.
it probably still does.
Yeah.
Not sure what it looks like under the hood. I'll grab a picture of that and throw it into the podcast here while we're talking about it on what that exhaust looks like. But the problem with those sleds is they're newer, they're a little more money.
Yeah.
And someone asked me the other day, Brent here in town, what other sled options I could think of for a sled. And this is what kind of brought up the thought, hey, I should do a podcast on this. And one of my first thoughts was a Yamaha phaser. Now, Yamaha made the phasers in the 1980s, and then they stopped. And then they got back into it in the 1990s. And they were a hooded type of sled where the hood would flip up. They were white. I remember that. And then they got into the phasers again with the 4-strokes, and they were 500. And I saw one for sale here in Cranbrook for $1,750. Mm-hmm. And they're electric start. They are literally not much different than the Venom or the Blast.
Extremely reliable.
And extremely reliable.
Yeah.
They're going, all of them are a little older now because we're getting to 2008, 2009. So they all would need to have someone go through them and make sure that they're going to be reliable. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, once you have someone check things out, whether it be throttle cable, brakes, battery for the starter, things like that, they'll run forever.
But like the difference between, say, the Venom or the Blast, opposed from, say, a 4-stroke phaser, like you're going to get much more longevity out of that 4-stroke motor than you will with the 2-stroke
9,000 plus kilometers.
Easy. Yeah, easy. Yeah. I had a Yamaha Venture MPV, I think so it's like a utility sled.
Yeah.
And the heaviest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And a 500, and I never did a thing to it whatsoever, didn't change the oil, didn't anything, and it ran perfectly. And it actually went decently fast.
Yeah.
Not in powder or like off the trail. That was
They were a 500 2-stroke?
4-stroke.
4-stroke?
500 4-stroke, yeah.
Now, what year was that?
It would be like a 2008.
Okay, so into the 4-stroke. They had an old one in the 90s that had a gray hood, I remember. And it was the same thing as like the Phaser, but the Venture. And I'm not too familiar with
it looks really ugly. It's like, looks like a bug kind of, and then the front is really pushed in and the skis go really far out.
Yeah.
And it's all metal.
Yeah.
Every bit of it. Like it has a huge rack on the back. That's all metal. But yeah, another great reliable sled that's...
Yeah, a cheaper option now.
Very cheap,
still,
yeah.
to go back on for the kids. So getting a little bit newer, same age, same vintage for some people, and I kind of feel like it's a good option. Yeah, it's kind of a full-size sled, but the Polaris Dragon 700 and the Arctic Cat M7. So you're not getting into the full big bore 800s. You want to keep your kid down a little bit on the CCs to kind of reduce the horsepower a little bit, maybe reduce the weight. Not that those sleds are going to be the lightest, but they're old enough that they're more affordable to rotate through for a year or two for them to ride and learn on.
Right. And
then to be able to move forward onto a full 800 or 850 in the years coming. So the Polaris Dragon 700 and the M7 were two other options that I had thought of. And then getting into a little bit newer snowmobiles, a lot of them all produce 600s. Well, I've got an old 600 back here that I'm going to fix up. Dating back, that's into the 90s. But a lot of the new manufacturers, for example, Arctic Cat makes the 600 right now.
Yeah.
My wife rode one last year. Went really good, really good. But you're getting into a more expensive sled, so it'll depend on the price range and the budget that a family has to be able to buy for their kids. So that was another option. Now, one I wanted to touch on and have you on mainly was I like old sleds as well. So I've got a couple of them. I got a 1974 Panther 440. And that's my poker run sled. So when you said you're going to ride the 600 on the poker run, and I thought to myself, before I get into explain it to you, I wanted to explain it on the podcast. Maybe not. Because it's fan cooled. They're so nice and warm. I can bring my daughter, because her little 120 isn't going to do the poker run.
Yeah.
I can sit her down behind the windshield and ride this 440, and it's almost like a little heater coming out under the window, keeping her warm while I ride.
I think some of them actually did have venting for heating to come through.
They do. It blows straight up out of behind the window.
Yeah.
Like the heat comes straight out right there. So there's a lot of those options. And then you have your kids on in the LAN.
Yep.
Which to me is like the perfect sled. I know a few of my friends that had them. And how long have you had this sled for?
I've had it for about 3 years. Yeah, but I've had lots of Elans before.
All 3 kids gone through that sled now, one each year?
Well, they keep coming back to it. That's the thing.
They just love it so much.
Yeah, my oldest, he's 15, and I got him 2014 Skidoo 800 a few years ago, 146, and I put electric start on it and kind of, smaller risers and stuff like that. And he can ride it. But he really likes going back on the Elan.
Yeah.
Just for, I don't know, just because it's fun. It's maybe a little bit less intimidating for kids. And then another thing, what you were saying with being fan cooled, a lot of times kids, maybe you tell them like, hey, you got to watch the temperature, or hey, you got to go in like not the packed snow, you got to go off to the side a little bit. But they forget. I mean, I do too. Mm-hmm. And then pretty soon the thing's beeping, or something's happening.
The light is on the dash, but they don't see it.
Exactly. And then I come over, what do you do? Oh, shut the machine off. But something like an Elan or those phasers that were fan cooled.
Yeah.
You don't really have to worry about damaging the motor by not cooling it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 3 kids and me all ride that Elan. We really like it a lot. Yeah.
And then you are into the older sleds. You got one, the Skidoo yourself. I think is it a 69?
Yeah, I had it. I had recently sold it, but I had a 69 Olympic.
Yeah.
I think it was a 299 maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
And really like the old machines. It kind of just feels like a whole event when you're going out on them.
Yeah, it's a total different experience. It so much more challenge in getting around on them, or even just getting up the trail sometimes.
Yeah.
But it makes trail riding fun.
It does.
Like racing 2 of those old sleds down a trail is one of the funnest things you can do.
And it is a little bit nice for the kids too, because I'm always like, if you can handle, something that's not really user friendly, then in the future when you do get something a little bit nicer and a little bit more powerful and user friendly, you'll be able to handle it a lot more, because you'll be like, oh, this thing is so nice. I don't stink like gasoline anymore.
Yeah. So true. Because the carb is right there. If it backfires, poof, a little bit of gas onto your lap.
Gas comes out of it, and I mean, it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you're riding those old machines, for sure.
No.
With the heat coming back, it's also like exhaust fumes.
It is. There's a little bit of leakage where the pipe gets onto the Y pipe if it's a twin.
Yeah, and it kind of makes like a Venturi effect right in that bubble. So There has been times where I get off and it's like, man, I got a headache. And
you can smell yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Or can't smell yourself because you have a headache, and everyone can smell you. You smell like a chainsaw.
Yeah.
My Panther's been good. I haven't had an issue with that one. Super fortunate to have that sled, and it runs so good. And to have my daughter on that one, there's been pretty much no fumes on that one. I've been pretty lucky with that sled.
The Arcticats, the older sleds and the smaller ones, they were kind of a little bit ahead of their time, because they went with a motor that was inside of a hood.
Yeah.
Where Skidoo and other like older brands, they had the motor more exposed in your lap.
Yeah.
So with the Arcticats, it cut down on noise, and it cut down on those fumes.
Yeah, that was the year that they were all starting to switch over. Once one went that way, they were all moving that way, where the steering post used to go over the engine, then to the front, and then both skis would pivot off of that linkage, where then when they did that, moved the engine forward under a hood, and then the handlebars were more vertical steering post.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other one was the Yamaha Phaser. We're talking about fan cooled, was actually a really good idea to bring this up. Was that not newer, 2008, 2009 four-stroke, and your the V.
The MPV, I think.
But there's a fan on them. So there's a little radiator
Right.
on the Phaser on the right-hand side. It's almost like half a dirt bike rad.
Yep.
And there's a fan mounted to the back of that. So riders, kids, aren't actually going to overheat. They can go as slow as they want, and that fan just turns on, and the sled stays cool the whole ride.
Super great idea.
It is. So they still have the heat exchanger up at the front of the tunnel, but then they have that radiator on the side.
Yeah.
And all the Yamaha sleds actually had those. My Nitro had it as well, a big one though at the front. And I'm pretty sure the Apex had it. So getting into big sleds, but still,
Yeah.
they were pretty good about that for overheating issues.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to switch over into the snowsuit, but if you had something else to touch on.
Like these are air cooled as well now.
They are.
Right?
Yeah. They're not going to overheat these sleds either.
Yeah. But because them being four strokes, they don't have big fins on the top. So that it's oil cooled, I guess, right? So it doesn't have a bunch of like heat coming up that would keep the kid warm in that little
Not
area,
really.
right?
It's still going to get pretty cold sitting behind it in the wind.
Yeah.
So some of the older sleds have that windshield, like we're saying, my Panther. The windshield comes up a little more vertical in front of the rider.
Yeah.
Where this, going down the trail, the wind's kind of running straight into the kids' helmets.
Yeah.
So at higher speeds on cold days, their faces get really cold.
Yeah. Before we move on to the kids' snowsuits, another contender I would say for a really awesome, affordable kids' snowmobile would be a Yamaha Bravo 250.
I was just waiting for you to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, forgot about that one.
I would put that sled in actually the best snowmobile ever
Made. Yep.
Yeah.
Me and my brother had one, and we beat that thing every day after school for so many years.
Yeah.
I know the Wheatons have one. They have, I think, two. And they even got to the point where there's like a bumper bar.
Yeah.
It goes all the way around the hood and the
So
sled.
you can crash.
So kids can crash into stuff and not wreck the sled.
Yeah. Yeah, they're super simple, single cylinder, two-stroke. There was the long track ones.
Yeah.
And they had two gas tanks in them for trappers or long hauls type stuff. And they were super light too.
They were building them all the way into the late 2000s.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. And they didn't change them at all.
No.
They were so cheap.
I'm not too sure when they started, but the one that I have is a 1986, I believe. And I think they might have made them the same until 2006.
Yeah. So one of your kids is on one of them right now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have to send me a picture of that because I want to see it.
Yeah.
What are the other ones? You don't have any other ones for them to ride. So the Land, the Bravo, and then your son is on the bigger 800 now.
Yeah, he's on the bigger 800. And then I did have those two older yellow Skidoos that probably you'll have a picture of. And yeah, I'm just a sucker for an old vintage sled. I had a 1968 Snowjet 400 Deluxe. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Don't really see it was a 400 single cylinder with the motor right in your lap, so it sounded really thumpy. It
would have been thumpy. That's a big piston to move up and down.
Yeah. A few years ago, I got it running, and then I took the whole family on the poker run, and I had never been out on this sled before. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, everybody come out. So it's me, and I'm driving, and then I have my 2-year-old in between me and my wife, and then I'm towing a sleigh behind it as well. And to say the least, it wasn't a complete success. The gas tank was full of rust. So
So the first ride out, it plugged the filter up.
Oh yeah, plug the filter. And then of course, like, you can't be having 5 people on this snowmobile.
No.
Yeah, so that wasn't great. I was basically like full throttle for 2 hours going about 5 kilometers an hour. And then the gas getting plugged up. So like taking the filter apart, trying to shake out all the rust and blowing through the gas tank to try and clear it up. Yeah, so that's kind of what makes memories.
You still have it though.
Yeah.
Okay, well now the tank's going to be cleaner. And I'm sure it'll be another good option again, but now it'll run better.
Yeah, totally.
And then there was a 2-person sleigh, right?
No, it was front to back.
Oh, front to back.
The one that I was towing them with, yeah.
So the kids were in the sleigh, and
Two
you
of the
were
kids were in
doubling
the
on your sled.
and then me and my wife and my 2-year-old were on the front. Yeah, it was...
I think I remember seeing you. Yeah. Trying to get up Rob's way up the hill.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out. When we pulled up to the counter at the front, there was some people like, oh man, you're pretty optimistic. That's like a quarter-ton Toyota pickup truck pulling a semi-trailer. And yeah, it was.
Now, how far on the loop? Did you make it to the 3rd checkpoint?
So we didn't make it to the one that's like, the one that goes up to the last one by Heaven.
Yeah, on the power line at the back.
Yeah, we didn't make it that far because we're like, it's starting to storm and...
Same with him, he didn't make it that far. He made it halfway to that one.
Yeah. And then we had to turn around and double back.
Yeah, and did you go into the cabin? You made the cabin?
Yeah.
And you almost did the whole loop then?
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
I think I was at the cabin when you pulled in because I had Layla with me. We had shortcutted back, being that it was colder, and I got her just on the Panther. We beelined it to the cabin and hung out and watched a movie while we waited for everybody else to show up.
Yeah.
So now being cold, that's another thing that I wanted to touch on is snowsuits. And a lot of parents now struggle to find what to get their kids. And there can be some really expensive options. There's a lot of reusable options, like a lot. We have a nice little store in town here, Fun Hogs. Marketplace has stuff, but we've been getting Helly Hansen jackets, or one-piece snowsuits for our kids. And the Helly Hansens have been really good. We picked one up in Calgary, used last year for Emerson, and then we're rolling Layla into one this year as well. And we feel like we can't go wrong with those. They've nice, warm, like one-piecer.
Yep.
And then I saw that Climb is now getting into the kids' snowsuits a little bit, and there's a few other manufacturers making them and giving something warm for them. But otherwise, the big thing is layering up. Hey,
right? Yeah. I'm kind of a marketplace guy myself, so that's kind of where I turn to. Yeah. As well as I do, it doesn't take long for kids to grow out of stuff.
No.
So I tend to feel like if you buy something brand new, you might only get 2 seasons out of it by the time the kids are too big for it. I mean, if you have multiple children, you can pass it down.
Yeah.
But I think a better option for my family is just to look for good used stuff, because lots of times they don't get really used all that much by the kids.
No, maybe that's why there's not as big of a market out there for these manufacturers to sell this stuff. There's only a couple big name brands.
Yeah.
Helly Hansen I consider to be a bigger name. Yeah, they're skiing, but Climb and there's only a few others because they're not going to sell that many. Everybody's doing what we're doing. Yeah. Well, okay, last year he outgrew this one, so now we're going to sell it, and it's still like new. Boy, we only went out 5 times maybe up Lumberton, so the snowsuit's still in great shape.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty much as good as it was when we bought it.
Yeah.
And we bought it used, so
it gets lots of life out of it, and they're good quality.
And then there's helmets for everybody, but one thing that parents need to make sure they can find is a balaclava that fits. And kids, the goggles will fog up the second the goggles go on and the balaclava's on. So you have to find a way to be able to put it on and then kind of go. So there's air movement there and the goggles don't fog up. Or open face helmets, which, not a horrible thing with smaller sleds, like especially the Elan.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, all we rode was open face ski helmets, and that's what we used. So your goggles don't fog up as bad.
Yeah.
But the balaclava still creates that moisture right here.
Yep.
So that's kind of a must on a cold day.
Yeah, and like having the open face for little kids, I think that's probably good enough because, if they're on a 200 or an old Elan or something like that, the speed is not great.
No.
And then also they can, take their balaclava down or, take a sip or whatever, wipe their nose or something like that, or talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Just doubling back though, with the onesie snowsuit versus say bibs or a 2-piece. I don't know the problem solving that could go into this, but I find with my kids, as soon as we go out, they gotta pee. And they got they got layers on. So they have, long johns, but then they also have a 1-piece underneath.
Yeah.
And then their 1-piece snowsuit. And to try and get, having girls trying to get their whole upper body basically unclothed,
Yeah.
and then help them to go pee. It's quite the process.
Oh,
to do
yeah.
that.
It is.
So I did find that having a 2-piece is a little bit better if the kids are having to go pee all the time, but then also if there's deeper fluffy snow, it's not as good as the 1-piece, because if they're falling or rolling around, they can get snow like up their back and stuff.
And sliding and playing for the day,
Yeah.
and sliding down on their back on a crazy carpet and falling off, and the snow doesn't get up their back as much.
Yeah.
You still get it down their back quite a bit.
Yeah. But there's that to take into consideration.
And the Helly Hansens have a nice boot strap.
Oh, okay.
So at the bottom of the snowsuit, there's a snapped kind of a buttoned rubber piece that's adjustable.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes down around their boot.
Nice.
So their snowsuit can't lift up.
Yeah.
Because constantly the snow pants are coming up,
And then
the wind is
boot.
coming in, and the snow is coming in into the boot. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this rubber piece that goes down under their boot holds that snowsuit down into place so it doesn't come up.
That's a great option.
Yeah. It was a great idea, and I don't know, we haven't experimented with other brands other than that brand, but from the cheaper Columbias that we had, and they didn't have it, to then see this on this Helly Hansen, like, man, that is a good little thing to have for the kids.
Yeah, totally.
Because yours and mine suits, they have the boot snap.
Yep.
That hooks into the front of our boots so that it can't come up.
Yep.
So a similar idea, but boots or their size aren't laces, so they can't hook into a lace or anything. And then mitts, you gotta have a couple pairs of those.
Yeah.
And I mean, even just
Bring 'em all.
Walmart brands, even just anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots.
But
2
just being
pairs.
dry.
You gotta have the dry ones.
Yeah.
And our sleds, our Arctic Cats, they have the nice glove box, and you can shove all the kids' spare mitts into there, and then they're nice and warm. And even if you cycle, to throw the old pair back in to warm them up, second their hands get cold, they're putting on a warm pair of mitts.
Yeah. Yeah, because nothing can ruin a day out with the kids when the hands get cold.
Boots cold.
Yeah, feet and
cold.
hands.
Yeah.
So what I do is, I'll bring all the gloves that the kids have, basically. So maybe each kid will have 2 or 3 pairs of gloves.
Yeah.
And I'll put them, I don't have the warm spot in my sled, so I'll just put them inside my clothes.
That works too.
And keep them warm. And then also just a bundle of those hand warmers.
Yeah.
I'll always bring those, and foot warmers, and jam them in the boots. And
Then you have a couple if you need them.
yeah, it's definitely better to have them.
Oh yeah, as a safety item too.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get out. None of us have really gotten out yet. You haven't been out yet.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you go up Hall Mountain?
I did.
Oh.
Yeah.
For a little trail ride.
Yeah.
How far up did you have? How many zigzags
Well,
up?
it was far.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think there was only two left.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was
You're
far.
almost at the point where the power line comes out there, and there's that zigzag, and the power line comes up
Yeah,
the valley.
almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I have never had to drive that far.
That was October, I think October 31st we went out.
Yeah. Wow. But you got out then. Nice
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, sort of.
How much snow was up there?
So there's about 14 inches.
Yeah.
And it was raining all the way to the top when we went. And early season, I always take like something I can just, crash basically if something happens and not care about. So I was on my 07 Skidoo Summit, and I swore something was wrong with it because the snow was so thick and
Wet,
heavy
yeah.
and wet. I gave it throttle, my tack was going up, and I was not going forward. It was just still like the same speed. I thought my belt was just slipping, but I checked
Crazy.
it wasn't. Yeah. And then my friend Tyler, he was up on his snow bike at the same time, and he was having the same issue. So I was like, oh man, okay,
Yeah.
something's not right here.
Man, I hope that snow bonds to all the layers and doesn't create an ice layer after freezing or something. But I mean, it's been warm for a while, and we've had more rain and more wet snow.
It might all be gone.
And it might have melted too. Yeah, I went, we actually took the GTs out to get firewood 2 weekends ago. And then it was great because I packed a little hill down, and I got 2 trees, cut them up. The kids are playing on the little hill in their GT.
Yeah.
Then, hey, let's go back. So we go back, and the snow's gone. And now it's like, well, okay, I guess you're playing in the bush or something because there's no snow left to go play in.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
melted.
Yeah, I do see a little bit of videos of guys up in Golden and Squamish area. And
Revy's
stuff like
got
that,
it too,
so.
but it had a real ice layer to it. I saw it snowed a bit since, so it's not as bad, but I saw people sliding down, not even on a shovel, just on their back down a hill on Frisbee, and just sliding down the hill on their back with the ice. It was so bad. So hopefully it's coming. I see it is coming. The colder weather here next week.
Nice.
I see some below zeros, which is what we need. We just need the below zero temperatures and get out and go and get a couple break-in rides in and go have some fun.
Totally. Yeah, for sure.
When I say break-in, I don't mean break the arms. Literally mean break the engine in nicely.
Get the engine, with so hopefully usually the first place I go with the kids if there's snow would be up Perry Creek at the VOR tower. Usually that's where I go on October 31st with the kids, but this year wasn't able to go.
Make an extra little hoof to that Hall Mountain. Bit of a drive.
And it's far, right? And to keep kids kind of motivated to go out and do something, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes. So having a long distance to go to someplace is not super optimal for little ones.
No. You almost need to put a movie on for the drive up.
Well,
I hold off on that as much as I can. No, look out the window. You'll find something to see.
They usually go to sleep. That's what usually happens. And like during the more into the winter, go up just kind of past Kimberley into the Meadowbrook, up the Gov area or Hula Creek. It's a good spot just to bomb around with the kids, and it's close. And,
I've heard that.
With kids, it can be quite the procedure because not only are you getting all of the stuff that you need for yourself ready, none of the kids are going to get anything ready for themselves.
Well, you got to get the sleds unloaded.
Got to get the sleds unloaded. You got to make sure everybody's got all their gear on. You can't really leave it up to a 4-year-old to, hey, did you remember to bring your gloves?
You're triple, quadruple packing for all of them.
Making it as simple as possible sometimes is a little bit better. Even what we do, we just go out and have a little fire, and the kids will go around the fire. And
that's what we like to do. There's a little lake that we'll go to up Gold Creek and Gold Lake, and the same thing. I can just cut loose, and as much as I like to ice fish, that lake, as soon as the sled gets on there, it's only this deep. The fish are gone. But anyway, I'll bring my ice fishing sleigh and my little wood stove, and I can sit there and hang out in the sunshine, drill a hole, and just sit and pretend like I'm fishing. And they can just do laps. And just burn around. And they can't hit anything, and they get to learn how to ride. So the second we get some nice cold weather and a little bit of snow, that's where we're taking our daughter to ride the 120 to kind of figure out how to do it on her own, because I don't plan on sitting on that sled with her this year. She's going to have to be on her own now. And a big part of it too was that they can't actually grip the handlebars and squeeze the throttle because their hands are too small.
And now, when they wear mitts too,
and they wear mitts, is tough. Where now that she's 3, she'll have a bit bigger hands and she can be able to squeeze that on her own. And the other one is to be able to reach the brake too. So that's, luckily those sleds kind of stop quickly when you let off. But still, nothing to crash into besides bulrushes and willows around the lake. What
I found with my kids as well, maybe you've had the same experience, is I'll have grandiose plans of, we're going to go out and we're going to go up to the VOR tower and it's going to be beautiful and everything. And, the temperature it is down low is, pretty mild, but once you get up top, it's quite cold. And then all of a sudden the kids aren't having fun anymore. And they're like, I want to go home now. And it's like, well, we're kind of not close to home anymore. So I found myself maybe toning down my expectations of what I feel is fun versus what they might be comfortable with or have fun.
For distances,
or even difficulty of terrain. Because a hill that's nothing to us is super intimidating to a little one. Or us being adults, we can move around. We're moving around, going from here to there and starting our kids' sleds, and we're staying warm because we're moving. But with the little ones, they don't really have that body mass, and they don't really have the movement of moving around to keep warm. So
they don't.
That's something I've kind of had to come to grips with just maybe lower my expectations. It's, of course, right? It's a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old. not to think that they're going to be able to go on like an all-day excursion.
No, a couple hours.
Yeah.
We'll almost wait to have lunch on the truck ride up. And then they know that they get food into them
Yeah.
while you're driving.
Yeah.
And then you get your afternoon in, but it's a short afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I look forward to it. Hopefully we get the kids out even for a ride together.
Yeah,
We'll have to
totally.
touch base, keep in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, once the snow is here. So I'd like to appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, man.
Show off your jacket, a little bit of vintage here.
Yeah, I got the Bounty Hunter jacket here, and I'll show the back off.
It's an old Arctic Cat race jacket.
Yeah,
it's pretty sweet.
I guess the guy I got it from, he said it was only sold or given to people that bought a Wildcat in 1996, and he had
gotten one.
He got the jacket with his brand new
Sweet
1996 Wildcat. Yeah.
And guys back then used to rep those. Like that's what they wore.
Oh yeah. Well, they wanted everybody to know, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Thanks everybody for watching. If you like, hit the subscribe button or hit the like button on your screen, and we'll see you on the next one.